Hey there, and welcome back to the Napkin Notes podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Evans. If you love Yellowstone or secretly want to channel your inner Beth Dutton, you are going to love this episode. Today, I am sitting down with my dear friend and breakaway roper extraordinaire, Jo Hollabaugh, and we are tracing her journey from little girl on a pony to rodeo competitor, broadcaster, and the woman behind a growing faith-fueled movement called Cowgirl Armor. You may have seen some content on my socials about heading to the NFR this week. So the NFR is the National Finals Rodeo, and it is basically the Super Bowl of rodeo and the unofficial fashion week of the Western world. Jo invited me to come along while she handles the broadcasting side of the sport, and honestly, I could not say yes fast enough. I will be proudly rotating through my Lucchese boots and living my best Western fashion life out there. So naturally, I had to bring Jo on the podcast so we can all be a little bit more educated on the Western world before I step into Vegas. In this episode, we talk about the wild road that led her to becoming one of the top breakaway ropers in the world, starting a podcast on her iPhone, nearly winning a literal $1 million, riding horses with names better than most baby books, and the mindset work required long before stepping into an arena with 17,000 fans holding their breath. But y'all, this conversation is more than Rodeo 101, though trust me, you will leave with a surprising amount of niche knowledge you didn't know you needed. You'll be able to walk into your Christmas cocktail parties with some fun facts, I'll tell you that. But this episode is really about grit, community, calling, and the tender ways God nudges us towards the things that we're meant to build, even when we would rather not. Jo and I share the story of our friendship, our Sunday night prayer check-ins, and the behind-the-scenes moments shaping the women that we are becoming. So saddle up, friends. This one is equal parts heartfelt, hilarious, and deeply human. Here's my conversation with Jo. Let's ride.
I'm going to Kimes Ranch, $1 Million Breakaway. So Thursday, I leave to go to that. I go to San Antonio first. Then I go from there to Scottsdale, Arizona. And then I'm going to fly to Vegas on the 1st.
Oh my gosh, which is where you and I are going to meet for the very first time, Jo.
I know.
I can't wait.
I feel like I've known you forever. Okay, your tree is beautiful. I love it.
My mom might be the world's best decorator.
Could she come to my house?
We have been talking a lot about Christmas trees lately because I just decorated some of mine. And so I'm kind of a little bit traditional with my trees. I'll just use a lot of just the regular old round balls that you can find at Target or Hobby Lobby. But as you can see, my mom really likes different placements of flowers and other things. So even as adults, I feel like there's still so much that we can learn about our moms.
Oh, I love it.
Well, Jo, welcome to Napkin Notes today. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And you are from, right now, you are calling in from right outside of Fort Worth, Texas. Is that right?
I am in Springtown, Texas, which is about 45 miles west of Fort Worth. So I feel like I'm right smack dab center in North Texas. And I'm a little bit of like an hour radius from Dallas, Fort Worth, North Texas, South Texas. I'm kind of right down in the middle.
Okay. And Jo, do you remember how you and I met the first time?
Yes, I think it was from Doug Champion.
I think it was Doug, which I still call him Douglas. But my mom and Doug's mom were friends growing up from elementary school is how I know Doug in the first place.
Yeah.
And so then he introduced us. And so you are a podcast host in the loop with Jo, but had you launched already and we worked together more from an expansion perspective?
So you helped me from an expansion perspective. So a little backstory on that. Doug Champion, Douglas, as you call him, started out being my trainer for physical fitness and just became a friend, an ally, and he's an entrepreneur at heart as well. And so we totally called each other and would bounce ideas off each other. And I started the podcast and, kind of had a dream for it and had no idea what I was doing and just took off running. And my first podcast was literally me holding my phone on a voice note and passing it to the next girl I was interviewing. That was my podcast. And so Doug was like, you need to talk to Elizabeth. She will hook you up and give you all the things. And I was like, okay. And at that time, the podcast was really small and we didn't have a whole lot of sponsors or anything. So it was a huge commitment for me. And I'm like, I just don't know if I can do this. And it was like, just that little God nudge that was like, you need to do this. And it totally, renovated the podcast, gave me so many new insights, tools, helped me to build the podcast. And then also, it brought me a new friend too, that it seems like, as we you went through and you gave me all your tools and tricks and tips, and I'm like, man, this girl she's very, very smart. Why is she sharing all her good info with me, at the time? And, it totally helped me build my podcast in the beginning stages and take it to the next level. And then also, built that friendship with you. And our friendship is something that I feel like we've not yet met yet in
Just
person,
so wild.
which is crazy because I feel like we're like longtime friends. But it's that time where you might not see each other or talk to each other for 2 to 3 years, and you pick the phone up and you take up right where you left off. And so then also, kind of full circle, the podcast has grown and come to a new level, and that led me back to you, and I'm like, "Elizabeth, this is what we're doing. I need help." And you were like the first one there to make it happen for me. And so, um I guess I gotta tell Doug thanks for introducing me
We got to
to
tell Doug
him.
thanks.
Yeah.
For sure. But Georgia, when you started your podcast on your phone, I feel like that is a true testament to kind of just like your character of, I'm going to do this. The Lord has put a nudge on my heart to do something, and I'm just going to figure it out along the way. I like that you don't necessarily wait for permission to do stuff. You start it, and then you gather the people around you to get things started. And I think that is a really admirable trait about you that I've learned over the years.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. I think it can get you in a lot of trouble sometimes, but that's just kind of how I was raised. If you want something, go after it and figure it out along the way. And that's typically what I've done. And man, you know what? God's opened so many doors and blessings for me because there's no way it's not me doing all this stuff. There's been so many people that have come in and helped me and opened doors and, just miraculous things that have come along that I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's been a really fun adventure. I was like, okay, God, at that time, podcasts were very, very new.
Yeah.
And, I look back now and I think we're on our 248th, 49th episode.
That is amazing.
And I'm like, geez, it doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it's like, okay, just the consistency and it keeps adding up. But at that time, podcasts were fairly new. And I was like, okay, I don't even know if Apple will approve this or, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, this isn't really going to happen. I'm just going to like say I'm going to do it. And then it's not really going to happen. And then I'm like, okay, God, if this gets approved and if I get accepted, then, I'll do it. And the next day I got an email and said, hey, your podcast has been approved. And I was like, oh gosh, now I got to figure out what I'm doing. I'm doing it. And so that's when I was like, Martha Angeloni, one of my dear friends, world champion breakaway roper. She's been on the podcast several times. She was the first one. And we were literally sitting in the front of my Dodge pickup at the Texas Circuit Finals. And we had just freshly come off of the first National Finals Breakaway Roping. And I was like, hey, you want to do a podcast? And she's like, well, what do we have to do? And I was like, well, I think we just talk.
Chat. I think we just talk.
That's where it started. And it's been a pretty fun journey ever since.
And then you recently got picked up by Cowboy Channel to have your show go linear, as they say. And so that's just, again, a true testament to your consistency, figuring it out. And that's what really brought us back full circle just a couple months ago when you called me up. It was funny. I think my phone was on Do Not Disturb. And so you knew to text me like, this girl probably doesn't check her missed calls if she's on Do Not Disturb, which is so true.
I think we're so much alike in that fashion. I'm like, I know when I'm on Do Not Disturb, I'm not going to check it. But if you text me, I'll see it.
Yes. Called you back. We chatted for like an hour. You told me what was going on. And then we got you set up with some new equipment, and your show's just continuing to expand. So it's been so fun to be able to witness that and walk alongside you with that. We will be meeting for the first time in December because I am going to be accompanying you at NFR, National Finals Rodeo in Vegas, which will also be my first time to Vegas. So I definitely wanted to have you on the podcast to kind of pull people along on that because I think a lot of my people that are listening don't have a lot of insight into Western culture or to rodeo. Obviously we saw how expansive and explosive Yellowstone was. We all kind of secretly want to be a little bit of Beth Dutton, I think, at the end of the day. And so I'm so grateful for you to share some of your knowledge today because before I go to the NFR, one, I have to get my looks together, which you and I have been texting about. But two, I really wanted to respect the culture and go in a bit informed as well. So this is a bit of a selfish, almost information session for me too, to just glean some information about you and learn more about your story before I step into the arena, not to actually compete, but just to be around people that I feel like really respect that culture and the competition. And so I'm grateful for you pulling me along, and I'm grateful for people listening to maybe learn some more stuff about just like Texas culture, Western culture, and like rodeo in general. But you said a little bit ago that was just kind of how you were raised, was to start something and figure it out. Were you raised in like the farm life and around rodeo? Like, what is your story about how you got into rodeo in the first place?
So, how I got into rodeo in the first place was I was born into it. My
Okay.
mom and dad did it, and I really don't know any different. A lot of kids in school would talk about going on vacation. I would go to a rodeo every weekend, which essentially was a vacation because it's in a different location.
So you guys were
And
traveling.
oh yeah, I mean, we were gone. I'm gonna say like maybe we were home would be a better statement, like, maybe 4 or 5 weekends out of the year. The other weekends, we were traveling. When I was younger, it was my mom and dad's competitions. As my sister and I have a younger sister, her name is Riley. As we got older, it turned into, traveling for our youth competitions, and they put us first as a top priority, and so then it kind of evolved to there's different events, different scales, all the things, but it evolved to competing in events with our parents and, getting to compete alongside of them. We team roped is one of the events that we did a lot together. And so it was just a family dynamic and something that we did together as a family. And I just really didn't know any different, and I'm so thankful for that now. As a kid, I was a little resentful. I'm like, we don't ever get to go to the beach. We don't ever get to go to Disney World. And one of the things that I'm so thankful and grateful for is I got to literally travel around the world from the time I was 7, 8 years old, maybe younger than that. But that I was aware of it. But to travel around the world to meet new people, to learn how to communicate with people, to be around people, to navigate around the centers, the equestrian events and all the things, that's you got to figure out how to survive as a little kid while you're competing and all the things. And so it's just been a fun journey, but you know, my parents gave that to us as a sacrifice. And I think the thing that I really enjoy
Mm.
about it now is that there was a lot of investment. I think people say, well, you're rodeo and so you're getting to go and do, but there was a financial investment at every event that we went to
Yeah.
from that's what's different about rodeo from any other sports. And I know there's a lot of sports where you put money up, but like we have all of our money is invested in. We have to buy a truck, we have to buy a trailer, we have to buy horses, equipment, and then you get there, you put up fees to enter. So there's a significant financial investment that goes into rodeo, and then on top of that, when you have two little girls that want to do it too, so I'm just thankful my parents brought me up that way. It taught me a lot of responsibility. It taught me how to learn to be a part of a community as a little girl. And I never really thought I was little. I thought I was a grown up along with everybody else. And like, I'd talk to the little children at school when I went back to school, and so it helped me mature really fast to
Mm.
grow up, learn how to handle a lot of different responsibilities from your animals to finances to traveling to, just several different life lessons that I don't think you can replace. And I always tell people, which I feel like it's a privilege, but I always tell people I can put on a pair of cowboy boots and, go rope, or I can put on a pair of high heels and go into a boardroom meeting. I feel very versatile, and I think a lot of rodeo people feel that way as well because that's just what we do and how we do it.
I love how you describe that. My mom was an etiquette teacher growing up, and I've always said because of that, I feel like I can go into any environment and feel comfortable because I know what to do. And so I love how you describe that no matter what the environment, because that was your upbringing, you can feel comfortable, you can navigate it, you can command the room if you need to, or you can just sit back and watch if you're more of an observer. But I actually hadn't really thought about that because it does make you very cultured in the way of, like you were saying, finances, having to travel at a really young age or observing that from your parents. I don't think I had really thought about that before. Um, do you remember, Jordan Joe, the first time you were on a horse?
I don't remember the first time. I've seen pictures and videos. I was like 4 years old, and
Yeah.
a funny story. So I had a little pony, which I do remember riding her, and I'll share
Pony.
one of my memories. But her name was Roni Pony. She was like a red roan,
Did
and
you name her yourself?
no. So the one cool thing about rodeo and the families is you hear a lot that, well, there's rodeo family, but there truly is, and a lot of things
Mm.
traditional ways is families will have, young kids and they want a pony, meaning a shorter, smaller horse for their kid to ride to where if you fall off or when you fall off, it's not so far to the ground. Ponies are typically pretty well natured, gentle to be around, and they're pretty fun loving little guys and girls. So I had a pony called Roni, but they'd gifted her to us. She'd been in several different families before then. We didn't have to purchase her. And that's the thing that a lot of rodeo families do. They'll have a horse that their kids ride, and then they gift it to another family. And then that family gifts it to another family.
Wait,
And so
that's really
that's
sweet.
pretty cool about the rodeo community. And so anyway, I do have Roni Pony was my first horse, and I have
That might be the name of this episode.
I know, Roni Pony. Also Roni Pony. And I remember, so we had this, and I was like probably 5 or 6 years old, and we had this little spot of land that was maybe 2 or 3 acres to the like adjacent to our house, and it had like some little bitty rolling hills on it. It was just, and I told my mom, I'm gonna go ride Roni in the mountains. And so I went and rode up and down these little hills and went and rode around there. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, and like getting nervous, being like, I can't see my house. I hope they don't lose me. I hope I don't get lost, And so
how old were you at this time?
I think I was 7.
Okay.
I was like going out on adventures with Jordan and Roni, So that was probably the first time I remember actually riding and having that experience. But horses have always been a part of my life since I can remember, and they're still a part of my life, and they're pretty special.
Okay, so you live on a farm now, correct?
Uh-huh.
And you have how many animals?
So we have about 10 acres here in Texas, and
you and your husband
have currently 4 horses, 2 miniature donkeys, about 10 head of little roping calves, baby cows, and 2 dogs. I have my neighbor's guineas, which I feel like they're shared property. But yeah, we've just kind of got a little funny farm going on over here.
Was there ever a time in your life where you thought, I'm going to get a corporate job and like sit in an office? Or was this life that you have now always what you had imagined for yourself?
So I did do that one time, and I went to school, and I when I went to college, I took my horses with me because I went on a rodeo scholarship. And so it's always seemed to been a pattern for me to, and my parents kind of, taught me this way too, because they're entrepreneurs themselves. And so it was always like, you go to work, you take care of your family, your finances, and then roping is, a hobby, something we do and love, but like you take care of everything first and then you rope second. And so when I went to college, I got a rodeo scholarship, and I roped and rodeoed and had my horses and was a full-time student, and then had a job as well. And
this is a naive question. Can you go to college for rodeo?
Yes, you can. A lot of people recruit rodeo kids to go to college on a rodeo scholarship.
Okay.
Yeah. And they have rodeo teams. It's just like any other competition. They have rodeo teams. They go to 10 competitions in each region, and then they go to the College National Finals Rodeo in June. So, yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's a big deal. It's kind of like a stepping stone to the next level would be professional rodeo. So it's like high school rodeo, college rodeo. Well, let me back up. Junior high, high school, college, professional.
Okay, cool. Who knew?
Cool. Yeah. So, anyway, I had gotten to a point where I got my master's in business administration, and I'd been offered a job full time. And one of the biggest defeats that led to victory for me in college was I college rodeoed for 5 years, because I rodeoed every year that I got my master's, or undergrad and the master's. So 5 years total, I college rodeoed while I was getting my degree. And I did not make the college finals one time. Did not make it. And so after I didn't make it the 5th year, I think they only take the top 3, and I was 4th 2 years in a row.
It's tough.
So that was a really tough, at the time, what I thought was a defeat. And so I sent my horses home with my parents, and I went and worked full time for a hiring and like a retention and hiring sales agency. And I was their marketing director, and I worked in a building on the 12th floor at the Chase building in Amarillo, Texas. And I went to work when it was like dark, and I came home when it was dark, and I didn't rope or rodeo for like 3 or 4 months. And, at first I was like, oh my gosh, it's freedom, no responsibilities, whatever. And then 2 weeks after that, I'm like, okay, this is boring. I don't like this. And then it got to a point where like, it really kind of lit the fire in me again to be like, hey, this is what I want to do. And this is where I'm at. And this will always be a part of my life. And so I got my horses back, and then I had met my husband at that time, which we were not married yet or even dating, but he was a part of the equation, and so he helped me light the fire too, and we kind of made a game plan, and I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, let's do it. And so it was kind of like you go all the way down the mountain, you hit the bottom of the valley, and I stayed in the valley for a little bit, and I'm like, all right, let's figure this out. So yeah, I did do it for a second. I did not enjoy it. I am very much I will work very hard to be able to go outside and do what I want, be with my horses, and that's my happy place and where I like to be. And so I did not enjoy sitting in an office all day long with no windows and not being able to go outside and not just having that freedom. I think that's one of the things growing up with rodeo and horses. It's a huge commitment, right? And there is a lot of sacrifice, but there's so much freedom too, because you create your
Yeah.
schedule and you get to create what it looks like and what you do. And yeah, other things respond, like your horses don't know any different whether you're in a good mood or bad mood. They just know that they're hungry and they want you to feed them and take care of them and love on them and then go about the day. And so there's a lot of responsibility and sacrifice, but it also has given me a lot of freedom. So that's why I was like, hey, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to do this. And that was the last time I didn't have any horses.
I really want to talk about breakaway roping specifically, but before we get into that, I would love to know, was there somebody in your life growing up that you would not be Jordan Jo, the rodeo athlete, the woman of faith, without this person in your life?
Growing up, I would say, as a little girl, probably my mom and my dad. Just like I said, they're both entrepreneurs, and watching them, like, I never grew up thinking there was anything I couldn't do.
Yeah.
And they never gave me that limiting belief. And sometimes I like look back and resented them for it because I'm like, there's only so much a person can do. I remembered my mom telling me, figure it out. And I was like, oh, I don't like you. But they raised me to be tough. They raised me to be
Yeah.
independent and to figure it out.
Yeah.
And, not all of those times were at the time embraced and well taken, but I think it's something that, I've kind of stuck with and just didn't really have any limiting beliefs ever. Like if I want to do it, I'll figure out a way. And
Wow.
so that I would say growing up, and then kind of middle stage of my life, my husband, and before he was my husband, before we were even, dating, we were like best friends for 5 years, and we worked together and we got to rope together, and he just became one of my dear friends and really
Hmm.
kind of helped me to uh, evolve into the person that I really felt like God kind of created me to be, and just saw me for that person, like saw me for who I was and who I was behind the scenes and not in front of everybody else, just for me. And that helped me more than anything to start to learn to embrace that person and accept that person and be okay with that person and really be genuine and authentic. And so I would say the way my parents raised me, and then also my husband.
Okay, so talking a little bit more about rodeo specifically and the competitions, can you give us like rodeo 101, like just enough information and knowledge for us to like look like we know what we're talking about? So we'll start with like high level questions. Is rodeo an individual sport or a team sport?
It can be both.
Okay.
Most typically it's an individual sport. So
Okay.
there's like you'll hear of like professional bull riding, PBR. They have what's called the PBR team. So that's a team sport.
Okay.
But rodeo in a nutshell is probably, there's 9 different events that you can compete in, but it is an individual sport. So you're all in. It's all on you. You are responsible for your equipment, for your travel, for your horses, whatever you need to do that specific event. You are responsible for. You're responsible for the fees that you put up, and you're responsible for the way you enter. Like it's all on you. It's all an individualistic sport. There are different associations that you can participate under, and each association has their own rules.
Okay.
And so, like the PRCA, Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, like they have their own set of rules. Then you have, like, maybe we'll say the Women's Rodeo World Championships. They have their own rules. So everybody has their own association. And then below that, they have competitions that fall under that association. And the competitions are all strictly, they follow the rules of that association, that format, that database, things like that. So there are several different associations, and each association kind of fine tunes and says like, hey, our competition is going to look like this. The PRCA Pro Rodeo is probably the most well-known competition.
Okay.
And so what that consists of is they have bareback riding, saddle bronc riding, bull riding. Those are the 3 rough stock events. They have steer wrestling, tie down, team roping, barrel racing, and breakaway as what they call the timed events.
Okay.
So you can either be rough
So
stock,
rough
meaning
stock or
you
timed.
are riding a horse, riding a bareback horse, riding a saddle bronc horse, or riding a bull. Timed events are more of you're riding a horse, roping, competing, running barrels, things like that.
Okay. This is helping to categorize and break this down in my brain. So this is helpful. I think the thing that's correlating in my brain is almost like the different tennis tournaments. Like Wimbledon is going to be on grass, but other competitions are going to be on clay. Yep. Some are best out of 3, some are best out of 5. So it kind of does have their own individual rules per tennis competition too. So
it's very similar to that.
Okay. And it is mostly an individual sport. And I think every once in a while they do have like different kind of team stuff too.
Sometimes they'll have like the Kid Rock Rodeo is a team sport, team event. Like I said, PBR teams. They're starting to do more teams, but the hardest thing about teams is at the end of the day, okay, it'd be just like you and I, okay? So I've got everything that I want invested in my horse, in my truck, in my trailer, in my equipment, right? And then we'll say that Billy Joe over here, she's not as much as invested, committed, but she still rodeos, but she's not maybe wanting to do it at the level I am. Like maybe say I'm like a Kobe Bryant and she's like I don't know who, a lower level of Kobe Bryant, right? And so then it's like,
I'm coming up 52.
I'm like, do you want to be on her team? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you want her commitments and everything to be on your team? So it's a very much, you hear my competitors coming out. I'm like, no, I don't want to be on her team. But it's like that's where it comes into play is like that. Yeah. So the team aspect in rodeo struggles because it is so much of an individual committed, like it's everything that you put into it or don't put into it. And so that's why the team aspect is hard for rodeo athletes to comprehend because it's like, are they giving it what I'm giving it or vice versa? Am I giving it what they're giving it? And so everybody kind of has their own standard. And I think that's why the team thing has not really taken off yet because there's just so many different dynamics. Like, I think if we all showed up, if it was like football and they drafted us and they paid for all of our horses and all of our trucks and trailers and we showed up and we got to, play and get paid, it'd be a different story. But if I don't win, I don't get paid.
Yeah.
Right? Like I might have $1,000 invested in this event, but if I don't win,
you're going home
$1,000
minus $1,000.
And so that's the livelihood of our career and our sport. And yes, there are huge purses out there. You hear we're open for 50,000 added, 100,000 added, $1 million rodeos. Yes, that is an opportunity that we have, but you still have to win and nothing is guaranteed. Then on top of that, you have variables like, okay, we're talking about rough stock. We're talking about timed event. I can only control what I can control. I can't control my animal or, hopefully I can control Cookie because if not, we got problems, right? But if I can't control the calf, people can't control their steer. You can't control the bull. You can't control the horse that you're getting on. So there's a lot of uncontrollables in rodeo. And I think that's what makes us similar to drug addicts because
we're like, not where I thought you were taking that.
I can't control this and I want more of it. You know what I mean? It's like, good golly, girl. Are you serious? But yeah, I mean, it's something that you won't it's not a checklist thing, and I think this is or for me, maybe I'm such a type A, but I'm like, okay, when I figure out how to do this, this, and this, then I'm going to win.
Yeah.
And you're not guaranteed to win,
Yeah.
And so that's what I think takes it away. Sorry, long answer to your question.
No, that's good.
Not being a team sport it's so individualistic in what we put into it, what we're committed into it. It's hard to share that with other people when it's your money and your time and your stuff that you're putting up.
Okay. And I heard you use the word purse. That is the competition money, correct?
Yes. And so purse meaning, so when we show up at a rodeo, we'll say the fees are $100. Okay. And they'll say there's $1,000 added, which means, okay, if 10 people enter at $100, there's $1,000 plus we're going to add $1,000 on top of that for you to come. So essentially you're running against 10 people for $2,000.
Got it.
So when there's added money, that's where cowboys and cowgirls love the added money. Okay, we're fixing to go to the National Finals Rodeo. They add like over $1 million in each event. So they're
Wow.
going to be
Okay.
running at 10 days. So the National Finals is similar to like the Super Bowl, except for it's 10 days of rodeo. And every night they're going to be running at, if they win the round, it's going to be a $30,000 check. If they win second, and they pay 6, right? So if they win second, it's something like 22, it's like 30, 22, 16, 12, I think 8 and 6 maybe. Okay, so that's what they're going to be running at every night. To win the average, which means all of their times added up together, so all 10 times added up together and or 10 scores added up together, that means that they could potentially win $150,000.
So you can do individual night winnings.
You can win every night round. They're called go rounds.
And then average altogether.
Or the average as well.
Okay. So it's an or situation. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, this is very helpful. So your competition as a competitor, because you're also a broadcaster, which is very evident in how well that you're navigating through this conversation. But you as a rodeo competitor, your event is breakaway roping. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you give us the lowdown on breakaway roping?
Okay. So breakaway roping simply is there's a roper, there's a horse, and there's a baby cow. And every time in rodeo, we always try to give the animals the benefit of the doubt and head start. So taking breakaway roping back to where it originated, when ranchers would go out and doctor cattle, if they were sick or injured, they would rope them and hold them down to where they could doctor them, give them medicine. And so that's kind of where tie-down roping came from. So breakaway is just essentially minus, we don't ever get off of our horse. We don't tie the calf down. And it's a very, very fast sport. So typically you'll be on your horse, you back in the box of the arena, which is it's like a little square 12 by 12 area. That's like not a complete square box. The end of it's open. We run out of the box. The calf is in front of us. We rope the calf, and our rope is tied to our saddle horn on our saddle. And when it breaks off, we have these really pretty flags that we put on there. We get all these like wacko designs that we use. And so
that's funny.
When the rope breaks off, when you nod your head, the time starts. And when the rope breaks off, the time stops. And so a good time that you're looking at in the breakaway roping is going to be probably 2 seconds or less. So it's very fast.
This is fast.
It happens very fast. And so it's one of the toughest sports, but it's only women that are allowed to compete in the breakaway roping. And so they let the calf out. They're out in front of us. It's our job to rope them as fast as we can. When our rope breaks off the saddle horn, time stops, and that's breakaway roping.
When you are in the 12 by 12 box, what is that called?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just
the roping box?
The roping box.
Mm-hmm.
What's going through your mind before you nod your head to go out?
So that's taken a lot of training, a lot of mental training and focus training. You know, at any point in time, anything can be going through your mind. You might be nervous, the different atmospheres that we rope in, like Las Vegas where we're fixing to go, there's going to be 17,000 fans screaming and yelling at the top of their lungs all night long, right? And then there's going to be, some venues like Houston, Texas is 80,000. Wow. 80,000 people are watching you, so San Antonio, 30,000. I mean, you might go to Weatherford, Texas, and there's 5,000 people. You might go to, Poolville, Texas, and there's 100 people. I mean, so it's a little bit different everywhere we go. Literally every day is a different rodeo. Like you're saying about Wimbledon or tennis, some days we rope on the grass. Some days we rope on the dirt. Some days we rope inside. Some days we rope outside and it's rained. And thank you God for the rain, but it's muddy. Yeah. And so there's just a little bit of everything that we get to compete on. But I guess back to your question it's training your mind to, no matter what the situation is, you are trying to get in that state of flow, in the calm, focused state, and be focused on your job and do your job every time, no matter the circumstance, no matter the situation. Try to keep it simple and come down and do the same thing. So, but I've had to learn that, different situations, different atmospheres. it's really a big challenge not to let your emotions get the best of you,
Yeah.
and different situations or different scenarios. So it's just a lot of mental training that goes into rodeo and trying to keep your focus at a high level and distractions to a minimum.
I can imagine with all of those eyes on you, and you're the one that can, this is the only part that you can really control is when you nod your head and when you're going out, and you get to choose your horse though, correct? Like that's who you're
Yep.
traveling with
Yep.
and that's who you're going out with. It's
Yep.
Cookie is your horse's name?
So I have a couple different ones. Cookie is my main horse. She's a horse that I ride a lot. Another horse that I have is Leonard. Though you'll have a breakaway roper that'll have a different horse kind of for each different scenario and setup. So it just kind of depends. But yeah, Cookie is a horse that I rode a lot. We've had her, my husband and I, for 5 years, and so she's my main go-to girl.
Aw. Tell me about one of your biggest wins of your career, and what horse were you riding when you were in that competition?
So one of my biggest wins was I won the National Finals Breakaway Roping, the aggregate, the very first year that they had it in 2020. I was riding Cookie.
Oh,
And so that
Cookie,
was
our
a
girl.
really special win for me just because it was the first year they had breakaway at the National Finals Rodeo. There's two very prestigious titles in rodeo, and that is winning a gold buckle and winning an average title. And so it was a very prestigious win for me. I won the average. I did not win the world. I won third in the world that year. But
Wow.
I had a really good chance, and I had great finals. I placed in like 8 out of the 10 go rounds. So, it was a really, really cool event, cool finals for me. And yeah, one I'll always remember.
Wow. And you're riding Cookie. Was
I was riding
she new
Cookie.
to you at that point in time?
Yeah, she was fairly new to my husband and I. We'd only had her for about 6 months, and so that was the first place that I took her that kinda, like, really meant something, like one of those high level events, right? That you're like, "Man, this is a big event. This means a lot." And, so it was a really special win to have her there.
How many people do you think were in the stands and watching on at that event?
So that year, so it was at Globe Life,
And it was
and it was
2020.
COVID. Yeah, so they only
Uh,
allowed 2,000 people in the stands, which if you can imagine, 2,000 people at Globe Life, like, it looked like you could have shot a shotgun in the stands and not hit anybody, but there were 2,000 people there, but they limited it because of COVID, so there wasn't a
of
whole lot of people in
course.
the stands.
Okay. Bummer. Well, so amazing. Because I remember when Doug first introduced me to you, he was like, Jordan Jo is an amazing athlete. She is so accomplished. He, I think, was like kind of trying to tell me about Breakaway. And I was like, she seems like a cool girl. Let's go ahead and, introduce
It
me. I was
seems
like
cool, I
trying to keep
totally get
up.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, cool, alright.
What's a competition that you feel like you're like, ugh, I wish I could go back and redo that one?
Oh, so again, in Globe Life Field, the American Rodeo is a huge competition that they only have once a year. And
Okay.
so the format to that, again, has different rules, but the top 5 in the world get to go and compete at $100,000. So if you win first, you win 100,000. And then they take 5 qualifiers, what they call the wild cards, the normal everyday American average Joes. So I wasn't in the top 5 that year, and this was 2023. Yes.
Okay.
And so I qualified through the qualifier, which to get in through that, I had to beat like, I don't know, 1,000 girls to get
Oh
through
my
there.
gosh.
Like, it's not an easy process. Like,
Yeah.
it was like a 4-month long thing. Like, you keep competing, you keep advancing, you keep competing, you keep advancing. So the format, the day of at the American is an 8-man, 4-man, meaning 8 people rope first, and then the top 4 fastest times come back and rope another one.
Okay.
So I made it to the 4-man round, and I was the $1 million contender. And so if I won first, I was going to win $1 million. And literally, I had prayed about this. I had manifested this. I had visualized this. Like, I knew I was going to win $1 million. Like, I just had such a peace and it was the weirdest thing ever. I was not nervous or anything in between. And so made it to the Final Four, which I'm like, I knew I was going to make it to the I know I'm going to be $1 million champion today. And so in the breakaway roping, like I said, it's fastest time wins, right? So the girl that's I was second. The girl that was first, she came out and was a 2-3. And I was like, oh, immediately, instead of me like being like, okay, I'm going to focus on me and I'm going to focus on the fastest I can be on this calf. Like, I kind of let that get to me. And I was like, oh, well, I
2-3 is fast.
just have to be 2-3. So that's okay.
Okay.
Like, I'm like,
Oh, is 2-3 not fast?
well, it is fast.
Okay.
But in my head, I kind of backed down. Anyway, long story short,
I see.
I was a 2-5. I won second. I took an extra swing. But in my head, I still remember the run. Like, in my head, I'm like, now, throw it now. And I took an extra swing and I didn't. For $1 million. So that is one I cannot wait for the chance to go back and do that again.
And
I
redeem.
will.
The
Yes.
story of redemption is coming your way.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's one that I won $25,000 that day, which at that point I was like, who even cares about the 25,000? That's the stupidest thing ever. Like, I just want to win the million, right? But yeah, it was still a very fortunate, blessed day. On 25,000, walked away, winning second at the American. Yeah, so it was a great experience, but I really wanted to win first.
Of course. And when you say take an extra swing, you mean like above your head, taking the lasso rope. Is that the right word?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I have a rope, and mainly, I back in the box, and I've got my rope ready. I nod my head, which means I'm asking for them to let the calf out. They let the calf out. I go and I swing my rope. And as I'm swinging, when I get there, I throw my rope. Okay. So usually, like, then I should have taken like 2 swings, like 1, 2, and thrown my rope and then caught the calf. But instead, I took 3, which is longer time, which means you don't win first.
1 second swing can make all the difference. Well, I can see how rodeo is such a mindset game when it's literally a half a second and an immediate decision is the difference between 25,000 and $1 million. Like, that's a lot. And that is something that there's very few decisions in life that are that high stakes, but that one was a high stakes thing. And I think that is the respect of rodeo, is you have to know your craft so well, because the best do rise to the top. But we will all be cheering you on for the story of redemption, Jordan Jo.
Thank you.
I had another gal on. Her name was Mallory, and she was on The Amazing Race. And she had been on it a couple times, and her partner was always her dad. And they were in the finals for $1 million. And I can't remember where they were, but they got stuck somewhere, and they ended up going they thought it would be better. They went a different route than everybody else because they thought it would be faster. It ended up costing them like 30 minutes extra. And they were literally like 5 minutes away also from winning $1 million. But she has used that as so much motivation to continue to go on. And she knew for herself that $1 million was not the right time for her to receive that. And so that just makes me think about you, that we'll be cheering you on. And I thank you for sharing that story. But it does show the intensity of the in the moment decisions that you competitors have to make.
Yeah.
You said that you prayed about that day a lot, and you have your Cowgirl Armor on today. You and I have really bonded over the last couple of years, just like how much our faith means to us. And you and I do have it's a loosely held, but like standing Sunday night hang and phone call leading up to the NFR, just to kind of chat and see how we can be praying for each other. But tell me kind of like how your faith has integrated into your rodeo competitions. Did you grow up in the church? What does that kind of look like for you now?
So I grew up, my mom took us to a Methodist church on Sunday. We went to Sunday school, and then we went to the Methodist church. And for me, I knew the Lord's Prayer, and I knew what the Bible was, and I knew who Jesus was. But as far as like actually integrating it and making it a part of my life, that wasn't something that really came until I was in college. And so went through some rough times, some hard relationships in college, and just, they say that you hear a lot that, you find God, but God found me, right? And so when that right moment, that right time was there, I was introduced to a great, amazing group of church. It was a very small little church, about 10 to 12 people, and they had a Wednesday night Bible study. And so I would start going on Wednesday nights, and I'd go to this Bible study, and there was a bunch of, people that were quite a bit older than me in there. I was the youngest one there, but I was just hungry for something different, At one point in my time at college, I've something that is always, and I've learned now, is a battle of the mind for me. And that's really where Cowgirl Armor came. But the battle of the mind, and just, always something that I have soulishly struggled with is like, it was just like kind of always a roller coaster, and feelings, emotions, things like that. And so at one point, like I questioned like why I was even here on earth. Like Why would I be here? What does it even matter? And so I know now that that was definitely not me talking, and it was lies of the enemy. But at one point, like, I was there.
Wow.
And so anyway, on my 25th birthday, I went out, and alcohol was something that I used to cover up a lot of things. And I got so drunk on my birthday that I couldn't even see.
Wow.
And the next day, I went to an event with my now husband. Then he was my friend. And I felt, oh my God, I felt so bad. It felt so bad. And I just remember sitting over there thinking, I'm not ever going to do that again. I don't
Wow.
want to ever feel that way again. I'm not going to do that again. And that was the last day, the day after my 25th birthday, since I'd had a drink of liquor, alcohol, anything since then. But then I was just like, from the step there is like, I don't want to feel this way. So how can I feel? What can I feel? And so
Mm.
then I just dove all in, which you've probably learned on rodeo things. I think it's like, I'm an all or nothing kind of person, right? Very black and white. So I'm like, all the books, all the things, give it to me. I want to learn all of it. And so I just dove heavy into learning about Jesus, and then building that relationship with Jesus, and what that looked like, and what it looked like for me. And it seems like just the other day, I got baptized there September 7th. I got baptized 2025 or 2015, I guess. And they baptized me in a horse tank. It was so cold in there. But it was just I don't know, it was just the cleanest feeling. But it's
Oh.
just been such a journey ever since then. And I've one thing that they helped me with is they're like, you need a journal, you need to write down these things. And I was like, oh gosh, okay. So now I have all these journals everywhere. So I've been trying to go back through and look through it. It's just so sweet to see how God shows up for you, and where he has you. And as you're growing, he meets you where you're at, no matter what. And, I feel like just that for me, knowing that he's there, learning that relationship, learning how to steward that, and be, prune myself, have good fruit, and continue to grow up and mature. It's just an ongoing journey, and it always will be. And so it just changed a lot of things for me, and just being a competitor, being a woman, and nothing like man versus woman, but it's just some of the things that I've battled. And the more, in the beginning, I was like, I'm just not going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about anything. I'm not going to share anything. I don't want people to think I'm weak.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be criticized. I don't want to be rejected. I mean, so like just poverty mindset, poverty spirit. And so, well, slowly and surely God just peeled back those layers for me. And so rodeo wise, it's just been a continual, like last year, one of the coolest moments I've ever had. So, I shared my story of didn't make the college finals, and got like just really rallied back, focused in on my abilities, tried to hone in, made the NFR, had an amazing NFR. I didn't make it back for 3 years. And so last year, 2024 was the first time I made it back to the NFR, second qualification. And it was hard fought, and God was there the whole time. But the coolest thing was I journaled through a lot of that process. And in my mind's eye, the focus point was like getting back, proving I can do it. And that last day, it was like always a series of events, right? To where it's like, there was so many things had to happen for me to get in and on, whatever. Anyway, it all ended up working out. I got in number 15. They take the top 15 to the National Finals Rodeo. And that next morning, I was just journaling, thanking God for that qualification, and just knowing that I put in the work and I got it done, right? And he just shared with me as I was journaling, it's like, it wasn't ever about you getting it done. It was about you trusting me to help you get it done. And so that was just huge for me. And that's kind of where, Ephesians 6, the armor of God, belt of truth, breastplate of righteousness, helmet of salvation, sword of the Spirit, shield of faith, feet shod with the gospel of peace, praying boldly at all times. Like, that was something that always, always, always was on me. Every morning, I'm like putting on my armor of God. And I felt I woke up with a dream, and God was like, Cowgirl Armor, that's a community I want you to start. And I'm like, well, first of all, I don't like people. Second of all, I don't want to talk to anybody. Third thing, I don't want to share any of my weaknesses and stories with anybody, so I'm not going to do this. And he was like, okay, and so.
See how that goes for you not listening to that nudge.
Yeah. So anyway, that's been on my heart for a few years now. And so anyway, last year kind of going through that, like I knew Cowgirl Armor was something that he's going to do big things with.
Yeah.
Wasn't really sure what, but I knew it was going to be big. And so anyway, last year again, it was like a nudging, like, hey, let's do this. And I was like, yeah, no, not doing it. So, and this year I'm like, all right, well, I'm doing it. You know what? Like, you've called me to do it. You've asked me to do it. And it's just just on your heart, is on my heart to do it. So what Cowgirl Armor is we, first and foremost, I have to wear caps every day because I'm outside and I'm a breakaway roper and we don't ever fix our hair. And so I'm like, I have 400 caps, so I might as well have some cool caps, right?
Maybe some sun protection, yeah.
Yes, protection. But essentially for me, it's just like putting on that helmet of salvation every day, right? And reminding myself that I'm covered and the promises of God and so on and so forth. But what I am in my mission and vision is, and I'm trying to do this obediently, but trials and tribulations that I've gone through, that God's walked me through, that now I'm on the other side of, I'm going to start sharing those in this Cowgirl community. It's going to be a video blog. I don't know how long, maybe 5-10 minutes of just me kind of one-on-one sharing with you, like, hey, 2024 went through this whole thing and I'm striving to be, it's me, and it's not me, it's God, right? Yeah. I don't own anything. God owns everything.
Yeah.
These aren't my horses. I'm getting to steward them. This isn't, you know what I mean? Like,
wow.
Just giving that surrender and obedience. So those kind of things that I've been through, and maybe just sharing that insight with somebody of like, here's some scriptures that God gave me to pray. And here's kind of how I worked through that. And just being raw and real of like, I'm not perfect. I'll give you an example. This morning I was working out. You're going to laugh at this. I'm working out, and as I'm working out,
because we got on at 8:30 your time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm an early bird, man.
Wow.
So I'm working out, and I'm going through, and I'm talking to God. Like, that's my time when I talk to God, and I don't know. I feel like I work through a lot of things when I work out, and so going through there, and I'm jumping the rope. This is like it's so silly. Anyway, jumping rope, and it's like I wanted to do 60 in a row, and I hit it to where I was like, I messed up at 35. And in my head, I'm like, that's okay. You're not going to ever be perfect. Keep going. And I was like, oh, okay. And then the next, so it's 5 sets, right? So the next set, jumping rope, and got to 45. And I'm like, that's okay. I'm going to keep going because I'm in this for the long haul. Like, I'm not perfect. I don't have to be perfect. It's good. I'm going to mess up. It's okay. So then the third time, I was like, just talking through my brain again, the battle of the mind. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do 60, and I'm just going to take it slow and one by one. So I get through it. I just start bawling like a baby.
Yeah.
Working out, right? What a masculine thing to do. But anyway, it was more of a God thing to me of like, just kept moving forward. I'm not going to be perfect. I can't do it, but I can do it with you. And I mean, just the little things like that. I don't know if that resonates with anybody else at all. I know that's the silliest thinking thing ever, but it just, for me, I just started crying. So I'm like, I can do it with you. I will do it with you. And then it was like I gained momentum. And then the next time I did 65. And then the next time I did 70. And it just, I don't know, those little things in life that I've went through personally. I feel like nobody has talked about them in my industry, maybe. Yeah. Or even as a woman, like some of the things we've talked about that we're going through. I want it to be a sacred place to where people can come and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Like, I'm not going to, obviously we walk through the valley, right? Like, we can't stay there, but I wanted it to be a place where it'd be like, hey, here's some struggles I've went through, and like, maybe this could help you out, just to be there for people, because that's one thing that I dislike about maybe just being a woman, being in this industry. I'm not sure what it is, but it's like everybody's perfect. Everybody, you look perfect on the outside. Nobody talks about, hey, I'm struggling with battling with my mind. I don't have confidence. I'm insecure. I'm jealous. We don't process that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to process that.
Yeah.
And it got me in a bad place. And so that's my goal in all this, is to process those things that God's helped me process and share that with others, which is the scariest dang thing that I'm ever going to do. And I still don't want to do it. God, over listening. But I'm going to try. And so that's kind of where it's going to take me is I want to build a community of women that we can come, we can talk about things we've struggled with and be there and be that place for anybody and everybody who maybe they're going through the same thing, or maybe they aren't going through that, but they know somebody else, or, if you're not, you probably will at some point. So that's kind of where my heart's at with it now. I really don't know where it's going to go or take or anything else. So I'm like, okay, me putting this hat was just a physical commitment and a sign to me, like, all right, fine, God, I'm going to do it. I'll do it.
So cute. And the branding is so good. But it's similar to when you started the podcast. Like, you just started recording on your phone with Girl and you handed the phone back and forth to each other. You're like, okay, here's a small, tiny idea, Lord, that you placed in my heart. I have no idea what's going to come next. I don't even know if I really want to do this. Yeah. But I do think that inner self-talk is so important. And it's hard to overcome because it's obviously so easy for us to focus on like the small things that go wrong. But I do think, and you and I have talked about this, just becoming aware of the thoughts is really the first step. Mm-hmm. And so it seems like even just when you were doing your jump rope example and experience this morning, that nobody was watching. There was nothing on the line. That was not a high stakes situation. And you're still beating yourself up in your head. Mm-hmm. But because you had the tools to become aware of that in a small sandbox, you can apply that to the bigger arenas. And, I'll be at the NFR with you this upcoming December, but I can see how when you're getting out there, it is a competition and it is like all eyes on you. So it is kind of like a performance. And so you want to put your best secure foot forward. And yet behind the scenes, there's so many other things going on, obviously for you, but I'm sure for the other competitors. And it just sounds like you're sort of going first in trailblazing what the vulnerability aspect of rodeo looks like. Yeah. And you and I have, again, those Sunday night meetups where we are able to kind of just talk about, this is what I'm working through and from a business side. This is what I'm working through from a personal side. And those are the kinds of conversations that, to me, things change on the inside before you can start to see the change on the outside. But that's kind of the order of events that you have to go through. And so I'm really excited for Cowgirl Armor. I'm excited for the brand to grow. I'm excited for you to trailblaze the way through. Even just the stories that you've told in this last hour of, not making it your college senior year or almost winning the American. All of these stories, it does come down to mindset, but it comes down to faith. And I think fusing those two things is something that you're really talented in. And so I'm excited for what's next for that with you. I'll ask you really quickly as we start to wrap up here. Are you going to be broadcasting part of the NFR?
Yep. So this year NFR looks a little different for me. I will be boots on the ground, not boots on my horse. And so I will be out there from December 1st until December 13th. And we'll be broadcasting. So we're going to start out with the Breakaway Finals. I am an analyst and a host there. So cool. For the Cowboy Channel. So we'll be doing that. And then you will be joining me for Las Vegas for a little bit of an experience and just all things rodeo. And so we'll be doing that. And I am doing, it's a little bit of like a pish posh mishmash everything, but some rodeo lives, which is the pre-show before the Thomas and Mack, before the pro rodeo, National Finals Rodeo starts. And then I'm doing a lot of the post-show productions, which is following the rodeo, just kind of going over everything that happened and the event highlights and things like that.
That's so cool. I've been kind of describing it to my friends. They're like, wait, why are you going to Vegas? And so then I describe who you are. And then I'm like, she's kind of like the ESPN game day before a college football game or after. What's really funny, Jordan, Joe, too, and I'm just now remembering this, is I'm a big college football fan. But one of my favorite things when I was in college afterwards was to listen to the post-game radio show after. So I'd go to the football game, obviously, for a couple hours. But then if you were stuck in the car, if you're like walking back, I loved listening to the post-game radio show. And I don't think, one, a lot of women like to do that, but two, I don't know. I just liked the wrap up and the roundup. So I'm excited to get to witness that from you. Okay, Jordan, Joe, at the beginning of the conversation, we talked a little bit about how it was your parents that really impacted you and your husband into kind of the rodeo, faith-based woman that you are today. But whether it's your parents or maybe your husband, we can choose either one for this part of the question. Is there a phrase or a saying that has really stuck with you that one of them is known for?
I would say probably my husband. And, he just always would tell me, just be you, just do you. You're good enough.
Yeah.
And, for the longest time, I really didn't believe that. I'm like, no, I'm not, but, after you hear it enough, then you're like, maybe I am. Maybe I am okay. And just for me, just being that place of safety, of peace, of confidence, and just knowing that, just like Jesus, you can come before him just as you are, and he's going to be there waiting for you. And, Raymond was that for me too on earth. And so, just having that relationship, and not so much just because he's my husband, like, even if he wasn't my husband, like, he's my best friend, and so,
For you.
just having that was huge for me to help me to continue to grow and be okay with becoming that person that I felt like I was made to be.
Well, Jordan, Jo, thank you so much for your time today.
Well,
Where can
thank you. It's
everybody?
been amazing. I can't wait to Las Vegas.
I
We're
can't
gonna
wait
have a great
either.
time.
I can't wait to see your outfits. I can't wait to show off some Cowgirl Armor merch.
Yeah,
We're
it's
gonna be
gonna be
walking around having a
fun.
good
I
time.
can't wait to see your outfits. The best thing about Vegas, and this is what I was telling you, and I know you're gonna rock it, but it's like, you just bring you to Vegas because it doesn't matter. Everybody, it's like a style, freedom, fashion, do whatever you want because it's Las Vegas and it's the rodeo, and we'll just dress however we want. You will see one of everything.
I can't wait. Yeah, I've been just trying to style some stuff together, and there are some pieces in my closet. I'll have to send you some pictures that I've never actually worn because I never felt like I had an appropriate place to wear them. And I feel like the NFR is going to be the place to get these things together. Like,
It is.
my fringe belts that I bought 6 years ago, why the Lord knew, it was planting seeds back then, that I would be coming with you to the NFR in 2025 when I
Yes,
purchased
you
these
did.
fringe skirts 6 or 7 years ago.
Exactly.
Well, Jordan, Jo, where can everybody find you online, and how can they follow you?
I am on all social media platforms, just jordanjo.hollabaugh. You can go to cowgirlarmor.com if you want to look into any of the Cowgirl Armor stuff. And on any social platform, if you have any questions for me or anything like that, just feel free to message me or get with Elizabeth. She can share my contact info with you. I just want to say, Elizabeth, your podcast is something that I truly love. It's on my playlist. And just thank you for sowing into others and sharing what God has allowed you to steward, because I know it's made a huge impact on me and everybody that you've run across, you've made that impact on.
Thank you for saying that. You're always so encouraging and always have such good words of affirmation. All right, everybody go follow Jordan Jo, and I will see you in Vegas.
I know. Viva Las Vegas.